guys, namaste and welcome back to the Plug in India YouTube channel. We are back after our COVID recovery. Many of our team members went down with COVID, but they were fit and healthy, so they got back up and recovered quickly. And that's what we expect from the rest of you as well. Thank you for your patience and for your passion. We will be back with our regular content, startup showcases, real life EV stories, let's chat, maybe some Nexon EV content. So stay tuned. Coming up shortly, much awaited, our power electric scooter buyer's guide. So only power scooters all across India, both Hindi and English. So stay tuned for that as well. And in today's video, we are going to be chatting with Karthik, the founder of the Zeon Charging network, which is firing up, electrifying all of the south of India. And we've got many stories that you've seen about that already. And here, without much ado, is the interview for you. Welcome viewers to another session of Let's Chat with Plug in India. Today we have someone very special for you, someone who's been an asset to the EV community, and we've known him quite well over the years. We are going to interact with Mr. Karthic, who is the founder of the Zeon Charging network, and they've already installed 12 DC fast charging stations in South India, and many EV owners have actually been able to do long distance trips thanks to their chargers. So we also I have the power in our Plug in India segments which keep coming up, and you'll see many users there making long distance trips from two cities using the Zeon Charger network. And they are very aptly located, so it's very easy for people to leave the city and go a little bit further than they would normally have been able to with the electric vehicles. So let's welcome Karthik to our discussion.
Yeah, it's great to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's dive straight into it. Karthik, tell us a little bit about Zeon. Introduce us to your company. How did it all start?
Yes, the Zeon International was started way back in 2003. We started, five of us, a bunch of classmates, soon after finishing university, we started off business. So Tirupur being a textile town, big garment center here. So we started off with textiles, and we've been doing well since then. Way back in 2012, when I saw the documentary, the Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore. So that sort of changed my whole perception about what's going on, how the economy is working, what sort of issues humanity is facing, all of those things. So that led us to, after reading about all those things a lot and giving it a lot of thought, that sort of led us into organic farm products. So in 2014, we started working with farmers, and we started retailing. We started a retail chain which markets only organic products which are sourced straight from farmers. So that sort of kept going, and I think around 2016, I got hooked onto electric vehicle, the revolution, what we are seeing in the West, and what is happening in China, and all those things. Started seeing a lot of YouTube channels, started reading about it, and of course, Plug in India, a lot of videos. And the next step was then I became an EV driver myself. It's 2018, we bought the E20 Plus. It was launched, the Plus was launched at that time. So one of the Plug in India reviews that I saw on YouTube was one of the big catalyzer for me to make that decision. So after that, I've been driving the E20. Even today, I still drive that car. I still own that car. Although I've got an MG today also. So after that, the journey and the learning kept going. And I think in 2019, the idea of starting a CPO, becoming a charge point operator, sort of got into my head. And one of the reasons why that idea came up was it was a bit frustrating to see what was going on in the market. A lot of car OEMs blaming the ecosystem, saying that there is no infrastructure for electric cars in India, and the infrastructure is a big deal, and it is not going to happen anytime soon. So those sort of thoughts sort of started like giving me a bit of frustration, I would say. So then I thought like, okay, so rather than seeing this as a problem, we should take this as an opportunity. So that's how we thought, okay, let's start with it. Let's see how much capital would be required and what sort of business is this. So we started doing some research since 2019. And after 3-4 months of research, we found that we could do it. Actually, we had enough capital to get into this business and to make a start. So it is a capital-intensive business, but we figured that, I mean, we could start and we could make an impact on this. So that's how it started, and 2020 we kicked off, and so far we have done about 12 stations, and hopefully by end of this year we should have a bunch more.
Right, Karthik. So the kind of charging stations that you've been putting up, Karthik, we are really very happy and impressed with. They are sleek, they are really good ones, and we see some wonderful cars coming and charging over here. And this is really doing a lot of good to the image of EVs in the country. Let's come to the network that you've started to create and tell us a little bit about the network. Which routes have been electrified and how many fast chargers have you already put onto this network?
So the first route that we wanted to electrify was between Kochi to Chennai. So that is the NH47. It used to be called initially. I think the numbers have changed a bit now. But it is about 700 kilometer stretch, and on the way it includes Coimbatore, Salem, and Bangalore. So if we could get that route electrified, we figured that we will be connecting Chennai to Bangalore, Bangalore to Salem, Salem to Coimbatore, and Coimbatore to Kochi. So you get this is one of the highest traffic corridors in South India, and I mean there are a bunch more. So we wanted to start off with this highway and include the cities in between as well. So that is what we've been trying to do, and in fact we have done that already. So I think only one station in that route is still pending, which is almost completely done. Unfortunately, it was at the verge of being opened, and we got into the lockdown. So as soon as the lockdown is lifted, that station will also be opened, which would complete our stretch all the way from Chennai to Kochi. So in fact, we have added another loop within that stretch itself, where we are connecting Chennai to Salem through another route, which is going via Trichy as well. So the next we have done Mysore. Then now we are looking at Kerala in a big way, because Kerala seems to be a very hot market in terms of adoption now. So we are looking at Kerala. We are looking at Mangalore as well, connecting Bangalore and Mysore to Mangalore. So for this year, the target would be to cover almost major cities or the major routes south of Bangalore and east and west of Bangalore. So subsequently in 2022, we'll be stretching north of Bangalore. So that's the idea so far.
The next question, Karthik, is a little bit, we're trying to play a bit of a devil's advocate here. And we want to ask you, how relevant do you find charging stations in India's EV ecosystem?
Right. Yeah. See, one of the points that we wanted to prove by establishing fast charging stations is that, I would say, in my opinion, fast chargers, electric vehicle fast chargers, are slightly overrated. I mean, they are definitely important to the ecosystem. The ecosystem cannot exist without fast chargers. But the point is, I have been driving an electric car for almost 40,000 kilometers so far, and I have never fast charged that car. I'm talking about the Mahindra E2O that I own. And I think 90% of the time, I would have charged that car either at my home or at my office. A few occasions, I would have charged it at my friend's place or somewhere else. So let's see, I will give you a scenario here. Most people that I talk to about electric cars today don't even realize that the electric car can be charged at home. They simply, in their mind, they simply replace the petrol station with a fast charging station. And they think that all electric cars have to come to an electric vehicle charging station to get themselves charged. So that is not the case. I think that is very important for people to have that change in mindset. So, just to have it as an analogy, so just assume that all the petrol bunks today are shut for a week or 10 days. And I would say within a couple of days, about 80% of the vehicles that are on the roads now would come to a halt. Assume that the same thing happens in the electric vehicle ecosystem. All the fast charging stations shut down for a week or two. Still, I would say about 90 or 95% of the vehicles would be fine. They would still be running on the roads, getting themselves charged at home, getting themselves charged at offices. So it is not a big deal. I mean, when OEMs, car OEMs or the EV OEMs come out and say that there is no infrastructure, I would take a big contention with that, because see, the infrastructure is there wherever you have electricity. The infrastructure is there. You can get your vehicle charged there. The only thing is to get the vehicle charged fast. So that you require fast chargers on certain strategic places, but you don't require them everywhere. The way you have petrol bunks, and even in advanced markets where the adoption is in a mature stage, studies have come out and said that about 80 to 90% of the charging happens at home. So every morning you wake up with a full tank. So, and an electric vehicle owner would visit a fast charging station about probably 3-4 times in a year. That's about it.
That's true. And come to think of it, the total number of people visiting a particular charge station would be quite a lot, but for each individual, it won't be so much. So that's true. If you take a look at the numbers, it shouldn't actually matter. But then there's a lot of anxiety. People have this feeling that unless they see the chargers, they won't buy the cars. So I think that's a kind of a strange situation that we are in. Talking about fast chargers, let's talk about Zeon fast charger in particular. And so how does this Zeon fast charger work? Say an electric car owner arrives at a Zeon fast charger. What do they need to do? Can you talk a little bit about the process of fast charging your EV?
So a fairly straightforward, simple process. When an electric vehicle arrives at our station, most of the time the customers are already registered. Let's say if the customer is coming there for the first time, is trying to DC charge the car. All he has to do is download our app, which is displayed in terms of in QR codes and all that. It is already displayed there. So they just have to download our app. It is there in Google Play Store, and as well as in the iOS version is also there. So once they download the app, all they have to do is just register with their email and telephone number. That's it. All the name, the registration, the car number, all that can be done later. So once they're done opening the account, they have a wallet. So as long as the wallet is not in negative numbers, all the customer has to do is just scan the QR code on the machine and select start charging. So once they plug in the car and press the start charging button on their mobile phone, the charger would immediately start. So that is one way of doing it. We've got another way as well. What we are doing is we are issuing our own RFID tags. We call it the charging key. So that is sent to all our, not all our customers. Customers have to pay for that a bit, and whoever wants that, we are sending them out. So once that is received by the customer, all he has to do is have that key with him. So once he is on the charger, all he has to do is just plug the car in, tap the key on the charger, it will start immediately. Once they tap the second time, the session ends, the charger stops. So now all they have to do is unplug the car and leave, that's all. So it's as simple as that.
Great, it's a simple, straightforward process and does not necessarily require even internet connectivity. The RFID key might just do the job.
Right. As far as RFID is RFID is concerned, you don't require an internet connection, you don't require a mobile phone, you don't require to operate your app or anything. But in the absence of an RFID key, you do require to use your mobile phone. Yes.
Okay, so that seems fair enough. A question that I had about this is, will you be looking to tie up with other charging networks later on, as there are more networks coming up and there are already quite a few apps?
Yes, we are definitely open to that. We have the roaming model, so that actually helps us. In fact, helps the community in not over investing or putting up charges where there are already plenty. So let's say in parts of the country where we are not meaningfully present, we can tie up. We are certainly looking to tie up with networks who already have a widespread network there. So our customers, when they are at our network partners charger,
right,
they can simply use the charger using our account. So all the settlement is done between ourselves and the network, and the customer is billed through us. So the same way, when our network partners customers visiting the part of the country where we have a strong presence, their customers can use our chargers through their own application. So that helps their customers to drive across the country wherever they want to. So, but I mean, we have not still reached that point where there are. I mean, hardly there are 3-4 networks, I would say, in India who have got a meaningful network, a bunch of chargers around the place. So I think that is a little bit of ways off. Maybe probably in another 2-3 years that would be more meaningful.
Awesome, Karthik. Okay, so we've observed that you're using ABB chargers for both AC and DC charging. So how are these chargers doing specifically in Indian conditions with our humidity and temperatures?
Yes. The ABB chargers so far, what we have experienced, they seem to be working excellently well. They are rated for using, usage up to even 50 degrees Celsius on the hotter side, and on the cooler side, they can even go up to minus 20 degrees Celsius. So far, our experience has been very pleasant, and we are not seeing any issues in terms of compatibility, or they are working fine in Indian conditions. And see, actually, I would say, the environment is one part of the story. The other part is an EV, a charger has to be compatible with the cars that are there in the market today. So every car has a different software. So the handshake between the car and the charger is very important, because that is what kicks off your charging. So it is very important that the charger has a very good software that is able to connect with all cars that are available in the market today. So in terms of that, our experience has been very pleasant with ABB equipment. Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. So does ABB have some India offices so that they can quickly service the chargers in case there are some issues?
See, our partnership with ABB is such that we are a complete channel partner. We have tied up with ABB as a channel partner. So the idea here is that our own technicians and electricians are fully trained. Even our software people are fully trained with the ABB equipment, and we ourselves are system integrators for ABB. So our company can service, we can install, we can supply ABB equipment to anybody who wants that, and we can do that on a turnkey basis. And we can even maintain these chargers for somebody who wants it. I think the first 2 years would be on warranty, and beyond that, we can work with anybody on an AMC basis. So, in fact, we've become an extension of ABB ourselves.
Right. That's great. I mean, you've seen an opportunity, and that's fantastic. Now you can even provide these chargers to other service providers who might want to set up charge points. So that's fantastic, Karthik. Let's talk a little bit about the electricity power requirements. In your experience, you've been setting up these chargers. You've been requiring 50 kilowatt worth of electricity per charger, and at all these sites, how have been the power supply conditions? Have you got it?
So in terms of the infrastructure that is available today, it is a bit of a hiccup because once we apply for a connection, most often what we find that there is no transformer capacity, there is no scope for additional load in the existing grid in the given location. So once we make an application, what the authorities have to do is they'll have to upgrade the transformers and the grid there. So in most cases, it's just the grid. Sorry, it's just the transformers. So they'll have to upgrade the transformer there, or in most cases, they'll have to give us a dedicated transformer, and it takes a bit of time. So initially, we were not actually we actually did not anticipate this. We completely got blindsided by this. So our pace of expansion has been has been slower or facing a bit of a hurdles because of this. So in most cases, it takes between 2 to 3 months for us to get the required supply. So that is one part of it. So then once you get the supply, then what happens is at least in Tamil Nadu, the grid has been the supply has been quite stable, at least for the last 3, 4, 5 years. We are not seeing any power outages, frequent power outages or anything of that sort. Yeah. So we are not having that problem. Definitely not in Tamil Nadu, and even in places where we have put up charges in Karnataka, Mysore, and Bangalore for that matter, we don't have that issues. So frequent power failure is one of the biggest challenges, because see, we cannot have a power backup for 50 kilowatt charger here, because the investment that we are making into the equipment itself is a huge investment that we are making. So, and for that investment, we would hardly be getting 1 or 2 cars charged every day. Right. So to have a diesel generated backup for that right now is not viable. Right. But I mean, there is no. Thankfully, there is no necessity for that as well. Right. So
the grid is stable enough.
Yeah, the grid is stable. Yeah, there are. I mean, certain locations there are certain issues which we are reporting to the authorities, and they are making steps for that. And awesome. I would like to place it on record that Tamil Nadu TNEB has been quite supportive. They understand. They want to see the EV ecosystem growing. In fact, I was on the phone with the chief engineer this morning as well, and they are all the time preparing reports. They are asking what are the challenges. So they get back to us and ask what is the challenge, what is your feedback, how can we improve. So at least on the top level, that initiative is there. It is going to take a bit of time to trickle down to the authorities on the ground. But that is something sort of pleasant surprise in Tamil Nadu, where the authorities are very supportive.
No, I'm very pleasantly surprised to hear this, that the top level is supporting you. So let's talk about one of the other problems that we found. Plug-in India in the early years used to do a lot of EV rallies, and we would try and set up charging networks between cities like Mumbai and Nashik. And there we found that when we wanted to charge our EVs, people would ask us for rental for land. Have you, where the vehicles would be parked? So has this been an issue for you when you set up your charge stations?
See, as such, the CPO, the charge point operations business, has no financial viability now. We cannot generate enough revenues even to take care of our running costs. Right. So, which will definitely get better as we go forward. But today that is not the case. So, so the challenge here is to make our location partners understand this is something that is complementary to their location.
Right.
So not all their benefits that they get out of hosting a charge point is tangible. There are a lot of intangible benefits they get. I mean, it attracts traffic, it increases their footfall, it becomes sort of a hub for electric vehicle owners who once they stop there, get themselves charged, get their cars charged, get themselves drink food or do a bit of shopping, and everything works fine. It sort of gets into their mindset where that becomes their usual stop. That stop there becomes programmed for them. So eventually, even if they're traveling on an ICE car, they would stop there, do some shopping, have some food. That would be the case. So it is a very big challenge for us to make people understand this, because I mean, they have a point. Whenever I tell them that, then they'll say, how many cars are there on the market? How much cars I will get in a day? That our answer is not what to say, very convincing. So they would get 2-3 cars a day, probably 5 or 4 in a good day. That's it.
Right.
So, but that number is going to increase. I think once we see increased adoption, it will become easier for us to convince them. But right now, it is a very big challenge. So, what I would encourage people to host charging points is that, see, when somebody wants to set up a charging point with us, they are practically investing zero. They have no investment whatsoever. We are taking care of everything. We take care of the connection. We take care of the civil work. We take care of the electrical work, the equipment, the investment. Everything is ours. So they have nothing to lose. So and everything to gain. Once that becomes a hotspot, once traffic starts flowing in, we will constantly keep increasing the number of charges and the more powerful charges. So that becomes sort of a center or a hub for electric vehicle charging that would drive their other businesses.
So yeah, you're right. The person who you're working with, the mall owner or the rest stop owner, needs to be a little bit future thinking for today. But definitely, Karthik, I think you've got your foot in the door at the right time, and this is where you can actually set up your network. An EV charging station will definitely be a plus for any such place. A rest stop on the highway will definitely be favored if it has an EV charging point in the years to come. Let's move on a little bit, talk about the standards that are used for charging. And we know that GB/T came in early on with Mahindra and other companies, and then now CCS2 is getting popular. And maybe in the future, something that's popular in Japan right now, the ChaDeMO standard might come into India. What's your take on this?
The ecosystem here in India is clearly headed towards CCS2. We don't see that many cars, even in the Western markets, coming out with ChaDeMO. Even Nissan themselves, who got the Leaf with ChaDeMO out, their next car, Aria, is coming out with CCS.
Right.
Even Tesla, who had their own proprietary plug in US, they came on to Europe. They came up with CCS. So that is where the market is headed. We did have certain cars with GB/T in the initial days. So be it Mahindra, Everito, Tata Tigor, even now, are with GB/T because the whole architecture of the car, the power electronics and such, have been designed around GB/T initially, and they are still sticking with it. And I would say those are still there and mostly used by the fleet operations for GB/T. So for higher voltage charging, I don't see GB/T proliferating beyond the 15 kilowatt DC that we see in the market today. So for the Bharat GB/T standard, the maximum power at which you can charge would be about 15 kilowatt maximum. So we don't see GB/T going beyond 15 kilowatts. So that is where it fails. So I think that is where its limitations are. So and you cannot even call 15 kilowatt charging fast charging anymore, because you've got let's say Tesla or Audi and all these market cars charging at 22 kilowatts in AC. They can take 20 kilowatt in AC power itself. So 15 kilowatt DC is not fast charging anymore. We are looking at 150 kilowatt speeds. Right now, MG and Kona, it can take up to 50 kilowatt, and Nexon can take up to 25 kilowatts. And I think with Citroen E4 and all those cars, we are looking even at 100 kilowatts of charging. So GB by T Bharat is definitely, I would say, in my opinion, is a thing of the past. So I think CCS is the way forward, and I think it's about time the government also realizes that. I think in the FAME 2 subsidy scheme, the government has mandated that we should have all three plugs, if at all we are looking at any subsidy or anything. So I think today to have ChaDeMO and GBBit and all that is a waste of capital. I mean, why should we spend the precious capital to have chargers for which we don't have cars yet, and we may not have cars in the future as well. So I think CCS is going to be. I'm in touch with certain commercial vehicle OEMs as well, like buses and trucks, and even they are all headed to the CCS. I am in touch with certain commercial vehicle OEMs. Some of those that were initially introduced in the early days had GB by T. That was because those were, at least most of it were imported from China. So the standard there was GB by T. So those vehicles that were tendered in the early days, like 2-3 years ago, that had come into the market had GB by T. But certainly from 2020 onwards, and more definitely this year, almost all the buses that are coming into the transport fleet are with CCS plug, and that is clearly the way that is headed even for commercial vehicles as well.
And also the cars that are coming into the market now are all high voltage cars, and GB by T does not support high voltage charging. So we have to move on to CCS, which is what an appeal is being made to the government also to correct the Bharat standards that they have come out with. So another thing we'd like to know about the chargers that you installed, the ABB chargers on the Zeon network, are what is the power rating of these chargers, and can two cars charge simultaneously?
Yes, that is a very interesting question again. A lot of people ask me, see, initially we tried one charger with two plugs, that is a 50 kilowatt charger which had two CCS guns. What we found in that charger was that having two guns is not necessarily a big advantage. What happens is when one plug is giving an output of more than 20 kilowatts, the other plug would become unavailable. So, and most times any car is pulling at least 35 to 45 kilowatts at any given time. So at most of the times, the second plug is unavailable to the second user. And then what happens is, like, when two cars are charging simultaneously, there are certain software issues, the handshake issues and all that, which would terminate one session. So those sort of hiccups were there. Then we got in touch with the ABB R&D team, and we spoke to their global charging solutions head as well. And what we found out there was ABB is not even recommending two plugs for any chargers less than 150 kilowatts. So the minimum charger that would have two plugs is at least a charger that would rated above 150 kilowatts. So where this sort of gets mixed up is, like, you're seeing almost all the chargers overseas having two plugs, and two plugs. When you look at it slightly more closely, you would find those two plugs are not both CCS. One is the ChaDeMO, one is the CCS. So what happens is, the idea is at any given point in time, only one of those plugs will be used. If there is a ChaDeMO car coming in, the ChaDeMO plug will be used. If there is a CCS car coming in, the CCS plug will be used. So it is not that two cars are simultaneously charging and the charger is giving an output of 50 kilowatts each. That is not going to happen. So, so that is for 50 kilowatt chargers. When you talk about 25 kilowatts, it doesn't even make sense to have two plugs, because if you divide 25 by 2, you're going to get only 12 kilowatts out of each plug. And what is the fun in having a DC charger that is giving an output of only 12 kilowatts? So I mean, it is not as big an advantage to have two guns that can the charger can charge simultaneously. At least not on the ground. It is a bit counterintuitive, but that is what we are finding in the market. Once you have one plug, the charger is like, I mean, the one plug will give the maximum output. You don't have any issues. The charging goes on flawlessly. So that is what we are finding. I think the next where we would try two CCS plugs in the same machine would be when we are installing in the future chargers that are rated beyond 100 kilowatts. But I don't think we'll be seeing, we don't see any big great advantage with two plugs at the moment.
Do you have a franchisee model? Who else wants to create a Zeon charging network in their region? Could they do it?
We do get a lot of inquiries for franchisees, for opportunities for people to invest into this evolving ecospace. I get a lot of emails, I get a lot of phone calls. My team is going through a lot of emails every day. We do have a franchisee model. We are open to the possibility of working with people who want to invest into this. But having said that, I would like to first make it clear to anybody who's looking to invest into this is that there is no return on investment, at least not for the next couple of years. This is something that we are investing for the future. So if somebody, so the questions that I get at least are most often being raised by people who slightly misunderstand the whole concept. Firstly, people who ask me don't often realize that most of the electric vehicles are going to be charged at the electric vehicle owner's home or their offices. And not very often people are going to visit a charging station to get their charge their car. So for that, the electric vehicle adoption has to come to a very high level to make this opportunity viable. So as long as people understand that, we are very clear, because we also don't want people to we don't want people to be taken for a ride, thinking that as soon as they invest, they will start getting their returns in the month or two. They would start making money out of this. So that is not going to happen. And we are definitely looking for more location partners, and if those people can invest in the equipment themselves, we will do everything. We will do everything for them. We will get the equipment, we'll do the installation, we'll do the branding, software, we will manage the customers, we will take care of the customers. So anybody who's looking to put up a charger, we've got a complete solution for you. We can do everything, and we will run the charger for you. All you have to do is make the investment and not expect any returns for the next 3 years. So that is the catch.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Karthik. This is definitely something for future thinkers, people who look way into the future, and good for the country and good for ourselves as well. Well, Karthik, with that, we have to ask you, what are the milestones for Zeon in the year to come and the years beyond?
I think everybody who watches this has to understand that this is a very highly capital intensive business. It requires a lot of capital to get things moving on the ground, to put up chargers, and to continuously upgrade those chargers and to expand geographically. So in that sense, capital is one of the biggest limiting factors here. So what is happening is, like, this year what we have slated is for us to expand across the 4 southern states of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Andhra. So we want to enable cover all the high traffic corridors here, all the major cities, connect all these major cities between these 4 states, and enable customers here to drive and buy electric cars without any range anxiety or such. That is the target for 2021. So we want to cover a good part of this states before the end of this year. In fact, our website would also, on the homepage of our website, you can see a map with all our targeted locations and all the locations that we are live already. So that is the plan for 2021. So beyond that, in 2022, we will be moving into states that are not of these 4 states, that is Telangana and Maharashtra. So, given the challenges that we have in terms of the huge capital requirements that we have for this business, we don't want to stretch ourselves too thin. We don't want to be scattered, one in Delhi, one in Bombay, one in Calcutta. It doesn't make any sense for us to do that. We want to have a reliable network of chargers wherein a customer who's signed on with us should be able to drive anywhere within a given geography without depending on anything else. They should be completely backed by us to drive their electric car. So that is the target. So hopefully we will get these areas covered by 2022, and we will move one state at a time. We don't want to do too many things at too many places at the same time.
Karthik, thank you so much. That's great to know. And we really look forward to seeing all your charge points popping up on the India map all around South India and growing more. And let's hope you find many franchisee partners who share the vision that you also have.
Plug in India has been a huge influencer, at least to my thought process. And I've been greatly touched and influenced and encouraged by what you guys do. And I'm glad to be part of the community. And I think what you guys are doing is really enabling the adoption and accelerating the adoption of electric vehicles in India. Keep up with the good job, and I'm very glad to be on the show. Thank you very much.
So viewers, thank you so much for being with us all the way till the end. And if you have any comments or questions for Karthik, do write to us and we'll forward them to him and get back to you as soon as we can. The links to Karthik's website are given in the video below, and any contact information that we might have is also there. So thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.